Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Two Moms and Some Labels. Two Moms and Some Labels is a platform for parents and caregivers caring for a child or an adult with a disability to come together in a shared space to network, commune, and intervene and just discuss all the things disability, to share, gain ideas on how to just live a better life and get through this challenge or the challenges that we are facing. So, today on this episode, we're going to talk about pre diagnosing our other children. Okay, and so what I mean by that is if you have a child with a disability and you plan on having another child, or maybe you've had another child, and because of all the things that you have went through, all the challenges and maybe possible developmental delays and things like that that you have faced, then when you have another child, sometimes it can be a little scary because you're thinking that you might be facing the same challenges. So then you start looking at every little thing and critiquing every little thing and stressing and worrying about, are they going to sit up? Are they going to crawl on time? Are they supposed to be doing this at that time? So you just have all these thoughts going through your head because you have experienced this already. And so you just want to make sure that your child is on the right path and that you're able to get that early intervention this time around if you weren't able to during your first pregnancy, so that you can get the right services and care for your child ahead of time. So that's what I'm talking about when I say pre-diagnosing our other children. So for me, I have 4 kids, and I am very bad at pre-diagnosing my kids. So my first child, she, has cerebral palsy, and so we faced many developmental challenges when she was born, and she didn't sit up for a long time, and we just kept saying, okay, she'll do it this month or she'll do it the next month, and we just kept pushing it off because we didn't know. And then we had another child, and I think that he was pretty much, on target with everything. And then, every child is not the same. All your children, they are different and they develop different. And so then my third child, he had, a little vocabulary, a small vocabulary, like when he turned 1. And so they say you're supposed to have X amount of words, like 20 or more words, when they turn 1. And he didn't have that. So I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Is he going to be able to talk? Like, I don't know, like, what's going on? So I'm at the doctor asking them to prescribe like every therapy under the sun, because I'm like, I don't know what's going on. He's not talking like he's supposed to. He's not, saying, this amount of words like he's supposed to. So I'm then asking if we can have all these services, because with my daughter, we didn't get to have that early intervention like we did have the opportunity to do with my third child. So I wanted to make sure I was on top of that. So now I, want to take the opportunity to be able to put him in his therapies and get him started early. So I'm so glad that we did do that, because there was a little bit of a delay, but because we were able to catch it early on, he was able to develop, normally like a typical child, and be able to catch up. And then, I had my last child, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, is she doing this? Is she is she supposed to be doing this? I literally was looking on the internet like every week to see, okay, what are they supposed to do at, this many weeks? What are they supposed to do at that many weeks? Oh, is she doing, I'm like monitoring. And that's not healthy to, be thinking about that kind of stuff all the time. And so, what I want to encourage parents to do is, yes, be mindful of the development of your child, but also make sure that you're being mindful of your mental health and not putting more stress on your plate than it needs to be. So it's okay to check the milestones and work on those milestones or work towards those. And if you see like severe delays or
Mhm.
things that are just really not right, then that's when I
Mhm.
would suggest
Right.
that reach out and contact someone, because you will drive yourself insane continuously thinking about if your child is going to do this milestone or that
Mhm.
milestone, and those things like that. So I've had to try to learn to not be so heavy on the internet, Google, and searching up things and looking for things too with my child, and let them kind of just be their own person and develop into their own person. And when they're ready to meet those milestones, then they'll meet those milestones. But knowing that I'm able to have access to a network
Mhm.
of doctors and therapists and things like that, or even have a pediatrician that is on board with the things that I may have, concerns about, and be able to refer my child to get those services, that is the most important thing to be able to have. And I'm glad that, that we have that. I think that's very important to also make sure that you have a pediatrician that is going to be on board and also be on top of those type of things, as far as when it comes to monitoring, the development
Mhm.
of your child and their progress and things like that. Because when my daughter, for instance, when she was born and we went to the pediatrician, like the pediatrician never said anything to us.
Right.
So it's like, so what were we going to all these, 2 month checkup, 3 4 month checkup, like doing all these monthly checkups, if you're not monitoring, taking note, and advising us on, okay, I see there she's not meeting this, so we might need to go ahead and do early steps. Because we
Mhm.
literally didn't even do early steps until it was maybe 6 months before she turned 3, and you age out of early steps at 3. So we missed, all those services. Granted that she was in the NICU for the first half of, the first year of her life. So we missed a whole, 2 full years because we did not have a pediatrician that was on top of giving us the right direction and monitoring the development of our child when we went to those monthly checkups. So make sure that you get the right pediatrician too. I would also say that, to make sure that you do your research about that. But yeah, and then also I think pre-diagnosing your other kids is not healthy for them, especially when they can become more aware of like what is going on. And it might make them feel like they're not where they're supposed to be, and maybe have like doubts or insecurities about their self. And so making sure that you're staying positive, that you're monitoring from afar, and keeping track of whatever it is that you need to keep track of as far as the development goes, but not pushing too hard on it. That's what I've kind of started to learn, as I have, gained more children and become more aware of how I was processing my
Mhm.
development and things like that. So yeah,
No,
pre-diagnosing children is a real thing.
yes,
And
it is. And I think it's a blessing that, like you stated, it's important for people's pediatrician to fully be on board. If you say, hey, I noticed this isn't happening, and kind of concerned, and then be like, oh, well, just wait, we'll talk about it next time, instead of them being like, yeah, let's, this, even if the pediatrician doesn't agree, what is it going to harm you as a pediatrician for you to write a referral for a person in that area that's an expert can either judge and say, yeah, mom, we're going to go ahead and do 30-minute sessions for 6 weeks and see if it's something that's needed, or mom will say, or the actual professional in that area will say, no, I agree, kind of, we can wait off on a little bit like this, and just give people some reassurance, or even tell you certain things you can do at home So I think that's very important, having the right pediatrician that is going to listen to you and understand your concerns. I'm still, my son's 8, and I'm still a helicopter Google mom. Um, Everything. Me and my chart are like best friends because I message and I send pictures to everything. And like Brittany said, it has a lot to do with Google. I see something and I'm like, what is this? What does this mean? What is this? He's not doing this, and comparing him. He doesn't actually have siblings, but I compare him a lot of times to other children his age, even though he just turned 8. Developmentally, he might be like 4 or 5 in certain areas, and maybe 2 or 3 in certain areas. It all depends who's making the judgment or whatever. But I have to stop comparing and stop over obsessing with the I used to over obsess with the CDC website, the milestones, and then now it's like some educational website that I kind of like look at, like, okay, he's supposed to be doing this in kindergarten, supposed to be doing this in first grade. And I think even if you have a neurotypical kid, when it comes to school, you're going to be like that. But as far as the medical, yeah, I'm definitely still a helicopter mom. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, breathe, your heart. Let me get a cardiologist. We need a cardiologist. His pediatrician's like, Mom, the last time we did an echo, everything was fine. No, he said his heart is beating.
Okay.
He said his heart is supposed to be beating. That's a good. No, he's never said this
Uh-huh.
before. This is a different thing. We need a cardiologist, So I try to just be easy with that. But Google, yeah, can stress you out. And then we have to also know, like you said, just enjoy those moments and enjoy the milestones as they come, because every kid learns differently. Yeah, because I actually witnessed you diagnosing. Yes, y'all. So her youngest, right? The baby girl, perfectly fine. Everything. She's like hitting all milestones, y'all. She went, I think she did something like this, wasn't gripping something. Mind you, she might have been like 3 months at the time. So I think she needs OT. And I'm like, why does she need OT? Because she should be doing this, doing this. And I'm like looking at her doing this. Well, she's doing what you're asking her to do, with a big smile on her face at that. And she's like, yeah, but she should be doing this is what it, and so yeah, you compare. And she's perfectly fine. She's perfectly
Yes.
fine.
So to piggyback on that, that was definitely me. And I asked the doctor for an OT eval, a speech eval, a PT eval at 3 months, actually probably like 2 months. I'm like, oh no, she's tongue tied. We have to have speech. We have to have feeding. She have to have OT. I was like, before we even left the hospital, I was like, we need to have our first speech appointment scheduled. So yeah, definitely, it's like it's almost like PTSD, having trauma from going to so many appointments and dealing with things with my, medically complex child. And I'm just like, okay, no, we're going to make sure we have all these things in line. But the good thing about it was I was so happy that my pediatrician was on board with me being able to even get those evaluations set up with her being so young already. So, um, I was definitely, yes, on everything. Like, no, we need to do this. And, we get the evaluations done. And then also, too, not to add, once you have more than 2 kids, even, I mean, when you have one, it's a lot when you have multiple therapies, but to add other kids to the plate and have to go to this therapy and that therapy for this kid and that kid, it's so much. So, I'm sitting here adding more things to my plate that didn't need to be added because she was perfectly fine.
Perfectly
um
fine.
you know those are the things that I'm talking about, because I mean, even if my 11-year-old, he's like, oh, my, when I'm playing, like, I'm feeling this pain, I'm like, okay, well, we got to call the cardiologist, we need to go to the ER. I'm like, always, we got to do something, we got to go see a specialist. um and so I
But
want
it's
to.
so funny because I'll talk to like neurotypical moms, like all their children are neurotypical. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, so you're not making an appointment at the
Right.
doctor?
They're like, oh, they'll be okay. Yeah, they'll be all
I'm like,
right.
okay, because I'm sitting here messaging. If I see like a little Lorenzo looks to the left when he should be looking to the right, I'm like, hey, we need a CAT scan. He can't communicate and tell me what's wrong. Usually he looks to the right first, and now he looks to the left. Something is wrong. I don't know if he bumped his head, but we need a CAT scan. I prefer maybe even an MRI if we can. Can we just look at his brain, please?
Yeah.
He doesn't need that. We're gonna have to sedate and we're gonna have to. Do you really want to go? Is something wrong with my kid's brain? Like, if we got to do it, we got to do it. Mom, is he acting normal? Is he acting tired? Yeah, he's running around like everything's fine, but that's Lorenzo. It's like, Mom, he's okay. Like
Yeah.
certain things, it's like, okay, now, like, he doesn't need that. But I also think it's not bad
Yeah.
because I think being in the community we're in, we do see when something is missed, how it can, so to catch things
Yeah.
early is
Yeah.
such a good thing. Even a slight cold with our kiddos can be a hospital stay, missing something. And then, not to be funny, but sometimes the providers don't make you feel like, when you go into the specialist or the therapist, they're like, Mom, you're just bringing them in? Wow, how long has this been going on? You're like, this is the one thing I tried to just kind of seethe and handle at home. Now you're guilt tripping me for not doing something sooner. So I think after you kind of hear that, you're just like, no, I'm on top of everything. You're not going to say that, like, if I would have brought him in sooner, this, nope, we're not having that conversation. So nope, anything I see, I document it. I'm like, hey, we need to do this and do this. But it is the life we live too. So
yeah, and I would say, like, the good thing too about this, like, this generation or the time that we're in is that, okay, when you have your child and they are, just born, newborn, to 6 months or whatever, any age really, that now we have social media, we have AI, we have all these different platforms that you can use, and there's like physical therapists, speech therapists, occupational therapists that have social media pages, and they might even show you, like, okay, if your child's not doing this, you can do this stretch or you can do this feeding technique. Like, you don't even really almost have to go into an office.
right.
You can start working on those things at home or continue working on whatever it is that you got from an evaluation or that you're concerned about. You can start working on that because there's access to all of these different platforms that give you so much knowledge and information on all the different things that you can do to help your child. So, from, like I said, from feeding to doing algebra to changing your oil to whatever you can dream of is on the internet to help
And
you.
another thing, even when you look, I think also providers, because they're more aware as well. Because if you look at the age difference between your oldest daughter and your youngest daughter, for that provider at that time, like 15 years ago, not even to be able, so I think providers are getting more like early intervention is very important. No, we can't just, push things off. And then back then, 15 years ago, you didn't have anything on social media to really go to. The only thing, if you went on, it wasn't even really, I don't think 15, you were maybe Googling, it's more like going to doing an internet search. And not to be funny, but most things that you would pop up were like devastating stories back then. Now, like you said, because of social media and the different platforms, people are sharing their personal experiences. And then you have a lot of doctor's office and therapists are even putting their pages because they know how hard it is to get in and get services. Some people, can't afford. So they are providing you with different things you can do at home. But 15 years ago, you didn't have access to any of that. I feel like 8 years ago with Lorenzo, I was able to be in the hospital and scroll my phone on IG. TikTok wasn't around, but IG or Facebook, and connect with other families from all over that were maybe in different hospitals and their child was experiencing the same thing. And I would actually be able to go back to the doctor and say, hey, I met a mom and her child's in Philly, and I know children's, diagnosis, but their doctor tried this, that, and the other, able to bring information back, do research on our own. And I feel like the research, especially now that you definitely find like good, positive stuff that encourages you. So that's definitely something people have to definitely take advantage of. If you don't see something or don't feel your pediatrician is, because some people with their insurance is assigned to a pediatrician, and it's hard for them to move. So I would definitely look at taking advantage if you do have some concerns until you're able to switch your pediatrician. Go to like the CDC website, see the milestones, look on social media for different types of therapists and what suggestions they have. I know
a lot of social groups.
Social groups
that are specified to whatever condition or disability you might think your child has or does have, or signs that you're seeing in your child. Like there's always someone posting about like everything. So it's definitely
because I know even sometimes people say it can be a little hard, challenging to get into these different programs because, you have to get the referral sometimes, then you have to get the eval, then you got to get the appointments and stuff. And a lot of times this is almost a 2 to 3 month turnaround. Sometimes that's at most, and you can start working on things at home if you do have a concern. So we will be launching the website for Two Moms and Some Labels, and we'll have a lot of great information on there. We can share other people's social media, just different, so you guys can see who to go to. Because I know the one company we interviewed a while ago, it was a PPEC center, and when I do see on their social media, the therapists are showing what they're doing with the different children. And a lot of the stuff, you don't have to have the fancy therapy equipment. You can go to a thrift store and get some items, or you can Five and Below has some things you can get. Like there's different things you can get. You don't have to go to the expensive educational stores. Because I remember when I was looking up stuff when he was small, I was like looking up, and it was freaking me out. I was like, $1,000 what for a mat and stuff like that. And then you go to Amazon, get a ball pit, you can even get an outdoor pool and put sand in it for sensory, noodles, boat, like you can do different things, and they have it on Pinterest, different activities that you can do at home that are affordable as well, too. So, but it's hard.
Yeah, I will look forward to that. So yeah, make sure you guys look forward to us launching our website, and we will have lots of good information on there. And if you have suggestions on things that you would like to see on the website to help you along your journey also too, we would love to have feedback on that also. But in conclusion and overall site, we want to make sure that you are utilizing early intervention specialist programs to be able to assist you and your loved one in their journey. If you are, feeling as if your child might have some, developmental or medical concerns, definitely make sure that you are reaching out to your pediatrician and monitoring those things. But don't do it to the point where you're going to be stressing yourself out and it becomes like another job because you're so concerned and overwhelmed. There's information out there, utilize it, make connections, lots of social groups also too, but let your child grow and develop in the way that they were meant to grow and develop. Okay, let them grow on their time. And of course, like I said, look for those things that you might have concerns about, but don't be too heavy on the negative. Look more positive in your child and speak positive things on your child also too, and their growth, the development, their minds, so that you can have a positive and less stressful journey. So those are my words of advice. And thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Two Moms and Some Labels. And until next time, we will see you guys.